My name's Fidan. I'm a family law solicitor practicing in Sydney, Australia. Welcome to Case Note Friday, where I give you a summary of an Australian decision. This is a decision of the Federal Circuit and Family Court of Australia of 2024. It's a case involving a very short relationship, and I think it's a good one. It's got some interesting insights. Let's get into it. The case is called Hadleigh. This is a case between Karen and Steve. Karen and Steve were together for a total of 16 months. It's what we consider in the industry a short relationship, less than 2 years. They meet in November 2020. They move in together in December 2020. They marry a year later in 2021, and they break up in 2021. In between the period of when they married and they broke up in 2021, they buy a house. They buy a house in Queensland. This is going to represent the house. They buy a house, they move in, and start living in this house. When they're in the house, there's a lot of conflict between them. So perhaps they rushed things a little. Karen and Steve, they were in a hurry to get on with it. Move in together. There are no children, but there are phone calls to the police and there's allegations of family violence both ways. Steve decides that he's had enough and he vacates the property in April 2022. He had up until that point been paying the mortgage. When he moves out, he stops paying the mortgage. He goes to Melbourne, which is interstate. And he leaves Karen living in the house, and she's responsible for paying the mortgage, the rates, and all the expenses, electricity, gas, etc. So whilst he leaves her in the house and she's in charge of it, he then doesn't have a set of keys. She changes the locks, even though it's in joint names. Pretty standard over here. But Karen decides that she's not going to pay the mortgage. She just doesn't pay it. She doesn't pay the mortgage, doesn't pay the bills. Instead, she starts renting out the rooms. The husband said in the trial that she got about $960 a week, totaling something like $76,000 total that she got from renting out the rooms. She didn't give him any of it, and she didn't pay the mortgage. She didn't pay the mortgage for a couple of years. So, of course, the bank comes knocking on the door and takes them to court, is suing them because they didn't pay the mortgage. And so they've got family court litigation, and they had litigation about the sale of this property. Now, ultimately, the mortgagee, which is the bank who went to sell the house, agrees that they will sell the house and then they'll get their money. There was some equity in the property, although not a whole lot. So there was considerable wastage by the time he moved out and he stopped paying the mortgage. She did pay it for a little bit. I think she paid it for 4 months before she stopped paying. So that was an issue in this case as to how do we treat all that loss of equity. At the end, after it was sold and the mortgage was paid, there was only $31,000 left, which was sitting in the lawyer's trust account, and they were fighting about that. Between them, they hadn't accumulated many assets other than this house. They had a business together. Both of them were entrepreneurs. Both of them had their own businesses when they met. His business was very successful. Her business, not so much. And they had a business together, which did pay them about $120,000 as a drawings for the year that the business was operating for when they were together. Anyway, at the end of the day, they both go to court fighting there's the $31,000 left from the sale of that house, and she's after some of his other assets because he had wealth coming in. He had another house in Melbourne. He had superannuation of about $300,000. He had a car. He had some money in the bank. Now, the husband said she should not get anything. And the reason Karen gets nothing is because, one, she lived in that house for all that time for free, didn't pay our mortgage. Two, she got money during the case, that is, she got some money out of our joint account. And we're only together for 16 months. Why does she get anything of what I came in with? Let me show you what the judge said. This is what they were fighting about. The $31,000 that was left after the sale of their house. They had their business together, which is the Hadleigh Group, worth nothing. This is the mortgage on the house that he had. So he had a house worth $750, is that in here? And he had a house worth $750, and that's the mortgage he had on his house, so not a lot of equity. There were some credit cards. There was some tax owing, superannuation, $240. That's his superannuation that he had before. She had a very modest amount of super. So overall, they were minus $52,000. That's what they're fighting about, minus $52,000, treating super as the same as assets. The judge described their relationship as tumultuous. I love that word. The husband also gave evidence about how hard it was to get her out of that house. And when she left, there was so much damage to the property. And he annexed photographs of the damage to the property that he had to pay for before they could list it on the market for sale. I think it was about $13,000 that he had to spend getting the house ready for sale because she bloody didn't take care of it and somewhat trashed it. I should say he put in $418,000 cash into the purchase of that house and she put in $60,000. And here you go, look, the wife failed to pay council rates, water rates, body corporate fees during her sole occupancy. Now, sometimes in these short relationship cases, it comes down to credit. That is, and it's a lot of discretion, right? The judge has a lot of discretion. Our learned judge, Judge Williams, has a lot of discretion as to what she would do in a case like this, where we're basically apportioning debt. She could have given the wife some super. She could have given her some of the $31,000 that was sitting in that trust account. But she was looking at them both in the witness box carefully to see what they were saying about this very short relationship and their recount of it. And that's what we call credit. What does the judge think about what the parties say in the witness box? And a lot of it comes down to credit. Does the judge believe you? Because let's face it, they've got two very different versions of events. And basically, you have to prove that what you're saying is right with other evidence. He could show she didn't pay that mortgage. She did receive income from the property for that time, and yet she didn't use it to any of the outgoings, and they suffered a loss. That is, they had less money because of her conduct. They only had $31,000 left as a result of that investment because of the way that she behaved. So when she was in the witness box, the judge watched her closely, but didn't think much of what she was saying because she was trying to run her case from the witness box, embellishing her answers, trying to make herself out in a very positive light and the husband in a very negative light. Let me show what the credit findings were by the judge. The wife gave evidence and was cross-examined by counsel appearing on behalf of the husband. She was argumentative and non-responsive. She often sought to attempt to justify her past actions and sought to cast herself as a victim of the husband. In particular, her explanations about why she had failed to make the steps to sell that suburb, that's the Queensland property. So why didn't she sell it? Why didn't she pay the mortgage? Why did she not rectify the damage that was there? Were far less than satisfactory and an attempt at blatant self-justification. Her evidence was difficult to accept and was embellished to suit her narrative. The husband, however, gave evidence and was cross-examined by counsel for the wife. In contrast to her, he answered questions directly and responsively and showed genuine emotion when recounting family violence incidents, which clearly had a profound effect on him. Where there is a factual dispute between the parties, I prefer the evidence of the husband to the wife. And in this paragraph, another reason why she prefers the husband's evidence is because of the wife's tendency to exaggerate when it suits her and her tendency to minimise matters when it is to her advantage, including her attempts to inflate the value of her business at the commencement of cohabitation, which was valued at nothing. And let's not forget, it was an earlier court case before this same judge where this judge ordered the sale of that property and for the wife to move out in February 2024. She didn't do it. By June, she was still there. Very, very difficult for her to now say before this judge that she's an honest person. So what were they each asking the court to do? The wife said she wants $150,000 cash payment from him, which he didn't have, and she wants 50-50 of the money in trust, which was that $31,000 from the sale of the Queensland property. She wanted 50-50 on that, $150,000. She also wanted $500 per week spouse maintenance. But she had some problems because her documents didn't actually say that. So that part of the case was instantly dismissed. The husband said, I just think it should be a walkaway. I should just keep my property that I've got. I should keep all of the money that's in trust because of the way she behaved. There would be $240,000 more, I think. There would be $237,557 more had she have done the right thing and sold that property. That's how much with the arrears and all the costs, the mortgagee costs, because they took them to court, all of that got deducted from their money. That is on her, not on him. So because she had the benefit of that, because she was bloody living in the house and collecting the rent, she shouldn't get anything in this settlement. He said it should just be a walkaway. She just walks away with what she has. I keep everything that I have and I get that money that's in trust, the $31,000. Our learned judge thought about it and said, you know what? I agree with the husband. He should get the $31,000. The wife can keep her business worth nothing. She can keep a little bit of super and everything she's got in her bank account because of the benefits of what she had after they broke up, namely living in the house and sponging in the house and not paying any of the expenses and getting all that rent, etc. So that was the decision. Husband got the $31,000. He also sought a whole list of things against her. Those orders were not made. So this is all the things he said that she would have to pay. 50% of the expert's cost, 50% of the mediator, all of this is what actually, all the damage he wanted to be reimbursed. The court said no. It was worth a shot, Steve. That's the end of the case. A great decision.